Hello friends, welcome back to the bench. Happy Juneteenth. Our patient today is another 86A, and we have a nice note from the owner, ticket ID, and we know this is 2009 Subaru Outback, 3 liters, H6. You can also find them exact same 2008 version, but they would also fit on Tribecas or Crosstreks or even Impreza, but that would require updates to the contents of the MCU. We do have, has this been touched? No, never touched. The misfire is constant on injector 1 or cylinder 1 and intermittent on cylinder 6. It's kind of unusual. Normally it is either intermittent on cylinder 6 or permanent on cylinder 6 and intermittent on other cylinders. But there is no general rule for these. In either case, the culprit is IC608, and that's what needs to be removed, resoldered, and replaced. That's our repair, our 5-minute repair. Well, meanwhile, let's talk about some triggering subjects, because why not? We gotta entertain ourselves if we're working on the resoldering job, which we have performed hundreds of times at this point. It gets kind of boring after a while, you know. So the subject, actually the purpose, my whole purpose is just to kind of show you guys, if you are not aware by now, that the world is not exactly black and white. And if you look at the world as black and white and you follow the black and white rules, well, it might not be the best for you. It might not be the best for people around you. You probably concluded from the thumbnail that this is going to be mainly about the immigration. And yes, as you can hear from my accent, I'm an immigrant. And before you report me to DHS or ICE, send ICE to my shop, before you do that, I assure you that I'm not an illegal immigrant anymore, but I was. Right? So I'm gonna tell you a few stories from my own experience as an illegal immigrant. But as I said, the main purpose is that black and white rules don't exactly work. And on any subject, take abortion for example. All right, this is relatively hot topic. Actually, everything is hot topic now because it's an election year. We're getting very close to the actual election, and it's very interesting indeed, because historically we have never been in the position we are right now. But take abortion for example, like you approve or you disapprove, right? If you only have these two choices, well, you're not going to make the best decision if you only have these two choices, right? You either allow abortion for everyone all the time, no matter what circumstances, or you don't allow abortion no matter what circumstances. right? So you could have an argument that you're pro-life, right, and you're not anti-choice because you know it's still your choice whether whether you engage in activities that could result in unwanted pregnancy, right? So technically, you're not taking away the choice. You just hold people accountable. Once you made a choice, you engaged in activity, and it resulted in pregnancy that you did not plan on and you don't want. Right? But then, you look at the you look at the world without your black and white glasses, and what about the crime, that resulted in pregnancy? What about incest? What about medical complications of either the fetus or the mother? A whole bunch of circumstances that your black and white logic doesn't really work anymore. And it's the same thing with immigration. Actually, it's the same with every single subject. And that's what politicians have to do. That's what they have to consider when making up those rules, whether something is allowed or not allowed. And what strikes me the hardest nowadays is that everything is taken to the absolute extremes, right? Be it the abortion, immigration, and actually a lot of misinformation as well. Just I talked about this yellow glasses guy many times now, but there's another guy that I watch, or maybe used to. Yeah, I guess I used to watch him. I don't really do anymore because just like with yellow glasses guy, I don't watch his channel anymore. Sorry, my throat is really acting up today. So I gave up on both these channels, and now which one is that one? A very, very nice guy with very appealing laugh, which I love. His video editing skills, awesome. His videos are really, really nicely made. It's entertaining. It's funny, but it talks about real estate and stuff. So that's not exactly the subject in which I require that you're funny and entertaining. I want you to be informative, and I want you to be a reliable source of information. Right? Because I'm not an economist, I have to learn from other people. I never went to school for economy or anything like that. So I learned from other people. But how do you determine which person is the reliable source and which person is not? And Orlando seems to be unreliable source now to me, mainly because of one single video that he made recently, and one thing that bothers me. Initially I thought he was doing it on purpose, like it was a joke, but now after quite a few other videos, I think he actually does use the word stability, which I've heard that word before, and I really don't want to sound condescending. I don't want to be condescending, but please, there is no such word as stability. It's not in English, at least. What I think happened is he just kind of mixed up two words, the scalability and stability, and he just kind of came up with stability. That's what I think, and I've seen people, being interviewed using that word, but you can immediately see that they they are not they're simple folk, right? But if you go on YouTube and you represent yourself as kind of an expert on the subject, I think it's your responsibility, it's your due diligence to make sure you're factual and that you're using English, right? But that's not even the part that put me off on his channel, but rather the informational aspect, which was people started buying houses because they were convinced that feds are going to lower the interest rates. And Orlando said that no, the feds are not going to lower the interest rates when inflation is through the roof. He didn't say high inflation. He didn't say relatively high inflation. He didn't say unusually high or on the high end. No, through the roof. Through the roof indicates that it's really high. Through the roof means like it's huge. It's 3%, which is considered healthy, but what do I know? But inflation in Poland is about 20%. I haven't checked lately, so my information might be out of date. But 20% inflation, I would agree, that's through the roof. Indeed. But 3%? So what would be the good inflation? If 3% is through the roof, then negative inflation, I guess? But that's not good either. I think we can agree that negative inflation is not good either. Can we? Or do I not know about something? Should the inflation be negative? Doesn't that mean negative growth? Or actually negative inflation? Isn't that deflation? Right? So through the roof, that sounds like you gave it a remarkably little thought before you made that statement. And remember that it's your obligation to be factual. It's your obligation to be as accurate as you can be, because people like me are listening to you as somewhat of an expert. Right? So I just gave up on that guy, and I keep looking for other channels, because there's got to be a reliable source of information on YouTube. You just since it's an open platform, everyone can pretty much say whatever they want to say with no repercussions. In rare cases, maybe some defamation lawsuits or something like that, but for the most part, no repercussions. You can say whatever you want. That's your free speech, as long as it's not a hate speech, or you're not rallying people up against other people. You can say whatever you want, and if you want to say that the economy is bad, you may absolutely say so. And if you're basing that information on your personal experience, well, that sounds fair, doesn't it? That's your experience. Your life sucks for you, so economy is bad. Subjectively, it is. But again, that's black and white glasses that you're wearing. They're not good for overall vision. Not great, at least. So before that was last night. I was watching some YouTube, and I decided to search for the phrase illegal immigrant. So first thing that I noticed is when I put in illegal space, the immigrant was not suggested. There was a lot of other stuff illegal, but not immigrant. I had to start typing immigrant, and then it gave me the suggestion. Do you mean immigrant? However, when I put the undocumented, immediately when I put in undocumented, the suggestion was immigrant. What does it mean? I have no idea. I'm just describing my observation. Another observation, when you type in illegal immigrant, you get plenty of results. Actually, all of the results are from Fox News. It's kind of like Fox News bought this phrase, right? Like they optimized for this phrase. And the actual stories? The actual stories are all bad. There's no illegal immigrant saved the baby from burning building. No, the illegal immigrant involved in shooting with the police, or assault, or all kinds of stuff like that. Okay, this flux sucks. Why am I using crappy MTech? So again, it's just an observation, because when you put undocumented immigrant, you get a lot of stories also from Fox News titled illegal immigrant, but you get primarily the news from MSNBC and non-Fox News, right? But more of a reports, not objective reports, not just focusing on immigration is bad, we should close the border. We don't want any more immigrants. We don't want any more people in our country because they're poisoning the blood of our country. Okay. Well, let's explore that. Let's think about it. Because maybe you're right. Maybe I'm wrong. Wouldn't be the first. Before we do so, though, let me tell you about my story, right? Because that's gonna be, I'm your source. If you're a U.S. citizen and you were born here and you lived here all your life, and perhaps you never immigrated to another country, you always lived here. Maybe you traveled on vacation and stuff. You've seen other places, all right? It's not like you're housebound, but you've never actually immigrated to another country, and try to live there, start a family, send the kid to school, all that. So let me tell you my story. I'm not a traveler kind of guy. I actually don't really like travel, but for some reason the life turned very differently for me. I never really wanted to immigrate, or I like my stability. Okay? Yes, that was a joke. I said that jokingly. Okay? Don't throw it in my face. But yeah, I like my routine. I don't really like traveling. Really is stresses me out. I always, whenever I go on vacation, I just count the days when I can come back home and work on my bench. That's my idea of vacation. So yeah. But for some reason, it's kind of life happened, and I just happened to go to many places, move a lot. In Poland, I've lived in 3 different areas of the country. I also, I don't know if you guys still remember, because it's not quite on the news anymore, but there is still war going on, and a lot of people had to immigrate, just leave Ukraine. And majority of them, I don't know about majority, but a lot of them came to Poland, and Poland welcomed them with open arms, which was very cool. For the first time in my life, I was actually proud to be Polish. Because that was a great gesture. I also think that this happens to be a great decision in the context of economy, because immigration always stimulates the economy. If you disagree, well, let me finish. Let me tell you a few stories of myself as an immigrant and other people that I've met as US immigrants. And I haven't really met too many immigrants from Ukraine. I was pretty close with one. He was my best worker. I had a team of, I don't remember, like maybe 12 people, right? And actually a few teams, because there was a mobile team, a back-end team, a front-end team, the machine learning team, all kinds of stuff. And I was just, coordinating work for all of them. He was my best worker, not because he was most competent, not because he had the most knowledge or anything like that. Actually, his skills were very limited compared to the rest of the team. So he perhaps was the least likely to be proficient. But he was a really hard worker, real hard worker, and very appreciative of work. He wouldn't complain about anything, right? He would accept everything. He would always go extra mile. That's why he was my best worker. And that is very common with immigrants. There was this I don't remember who made that statement, but someone made a statement that we have to stop the immigration or whatever because of crime. Crime, I don't know, maybe when the cartels illegally immigrate to US, maybe that is the problem. But the rest of us immigrants, we never have any problem with the law because we stay so far from the legal line that we never get in trouble. We go to work, we do our work, we go home and we go to sleep. Rinse and repeat. That's what we do. Because we don't want to have any interaction with the police. Because at any point they can check your ID and they might be notified that you're not, your visa expired, basically. Alright. And you get deported. And that deportation process can be, depending on the country you're from, but that deportation process can be very efficient, very quick. I lost few friends to deportation. Like literally, you know, at the end of the work. I worked in the kitchen for a while. And I had a friend over there, the co-worker. I can't remember his name, but it's not relevant. It'll come back to me. And one day, you know, we left work. The next day, he didn't show up for work. I didn't think much of it, but then his the other co-worker told me that he got deported last night. They caught him on the because he was driving, right? So I don't know if he had valid driver's license, but probably. I don't think he would be driving without the driver's license. But they stopped him for something. I don't know what. Maybe speeding. Or maybe his tail light was busted. They had to have some reason, right? And the next day, he was already in Mexico. You know, so your life is abruptly ends in the United States. You were gonna pick up the paycheck the next day. Sorry, no more paycheck for you. You were, in the process of something or anything, and just like that, you're gone. It's pretty tough, and imagine living like that. Would you really want to, confront the law in any capacity? No, of course not. You're gonna stay on the safe side. So you don't have to be deported. I never got deported. I actually left the country voluntarily after 2 years. Now, did I hop the border? Did I jump the fence? No. The primary way of people immigrating to US is we get our visa and we just never leave. Right? That's how we immigrate. So, building walls and stuff, that might have some effect on your voters, because it might look like you're keeping the country safe, but that will prevent people from jumping the fence and, crossing the border. These are undocumented immigrants. I was not an undocumented immigrant. I was a legal immigrant. Okay, and I know there's people, especially politicians and people on the news, and they just kind of take offense to the word illegal versus undocumented. But these are different things. You are undocumented immigrant when you actually, hop on the truck, hide behind the boxes and you cross the border, right? No one even knows you're in the United States. I, on the other hand, I was documented, right? As an immigrant, I had my social security number, which I still have. Although, when you're on the visa where you can work, on the social security number, there's an explicitly stated that it's only valid for work with DHS authorization. So it's it's a valid social security number. You pay taxes and everything, but you can only work for a certain time, right? So that's what I had. So that's the difference between the illegal immigrant and undocumented immigrant, at least in my opinion. Okay, consider it opinion piece, because it makes no sense to me to call me undocumented immigrant. I am fully documented. I'm just not staying in the United States legally. So I'm illegal. I'm staying illegally. So I'm subject to deportation if I'm ever discovered as such. I was never discovered as such. And, I worked hard. I didn't get in trouble with the law. I paid my taxes. I even haven't collected the last refund after I left the country. I didn't file the taxes, and I never collected my last refund. And partially because I don't feel like doing all that paperwork and stuff, which is actually not enough. Now my taxes can be a little tricky because I have multiple sources of income, or I work for multiple companies spanning across a few states. I recently moved, so there are some issues, or there is some work I have to put into doing my taxes nowadays. But back then, what did I work as a busser and as a liquor store clerk, cook, you just you get your W-2, you put it in, and you get your money, your refund. So primarily I didn't do it because I said, no, that's fine. Uncle Sam can keep it. I had a lot of fun in United States. I'm fine. Now, as far as the penalty that I had to endure, which actually I did not know when I was making that decision, but I thought I would never come back to the United States. I didn't plan on it. I was banned for 10 years, a decade. That was my punishment for illegal immigration, or for a legal stay in the United States. Because I immigrated legally, I just overstayed. And then, so it happened, I don't know. Life happened. I fell in love with my current wife, and we had a kid in Poland. We lived in Poland. And that's a whole other story, being an American immigrant, or expat. For some reason, Americans are never immigrants. They're expats. fine. Okay, I don't care. Call yourself whatever makes you feel better. I don't mind at all. So being an expat in Poland, that is a whole different story, and you can definitely ask my wife about that. It wasn't easy for any of us because, well, let's face it, if you're immigrating to another country, in my view, you have to speak the language, or at least you have to speak somewhat the language. Because, yeah, English language is relatively universal. You will likely find your way around everywhere with English. But, when you have to go to the doctor, if the doctor spoke English, he wouldn't be working in Poland. Nurses, registrars, the government workers and stuff, and they will get offended if you even ask them if they speak English. No, you come to my country, you learn my language. I'm not gonna learn your language. And it's not like you can even blame them for that. Well, you're the one who actively made the choice of immigrating to another country. It only makes sense that it's your obligation to not only learn the language but also learn the culture, so you don't offend people, right? There are things you don't do in certain countries, right? You have to learn all that, because it's not like you're asking for asylum. You're just either traveling or immigrating, right? It's absolutely your choice that you're making consciously, and you have to take accountability for it. I don't approve this point of view, because I think, especially in Poland was supposed to be known for Polish hospitality, right? But I definitely don't approve that you just kind of demand the immigrants to learn your language. And I've even heard other immigrants, actually other illegal immigrants, making this point, like complaining that people are speaking Spanish. No, you came to US, you gotta speak American, right? But dude, you're illegal yourself. Come on, have a little compassion. Oh, there was this lady. Have you guys seen this? In Disney World, Disneyland, wherever. The lady with that said something to the Mexican lady that was talking to her child, and obviously talking to her child, he was speaking Spanish. Right, that's her primary language, and she wants, for whatever reason, she wants the Spanish to be primary language of her kid. Right, I completely understand that. I wish my son spoke some Polish, but he doesn't. Not yet, at least. I don't think I'll ever be able to teach him, but we'll see. But I would like him to at least speak a little of his language. He was born in Poland, right? So he's fully Polish American. Well, he's got dual citizenship, right? But he was born in Poland, so he's European, he's Polish. So the lady was talking to her kid in Spanish, and some lady had a problem with that. It's not like the the Mexican lady was talking to that lady. But it's not like, well, I don't know, because we don't see it, because she turned on the phone to record her after the initial confrontation, because that lady called her like names and stuff. So we don't have the full context, but the lady for some reason had a problem with the Mexican lady speaking Spanish to her kid. Now, at what point do you realize that perhaps you're on the wrong side of the history? Like if the Mexican lady was, being obnoxious, as I said, we don't know that, but I doubt that. She was with the kid, right? So how obnoxious could she possibly have been? Take a look at the alignment. First try, and it sat perfectly. Sometimes it takes me like 4 tries, 5 tries even, or corrections and every time. But this time I put a lot of solder, and that's why it started floating. That's why I put the second and third layer of solder on the chip to make it easier to align. Because when you have enough solder on each pad, the chip will just sit in its position by itself. You just have to heat it up, tap on it, and it'll sit in the place. If it's starved of solder, then it's you have to align it properly. But it'll still work, no worries. Okay, so the the Mexican lady turned on her phone to record the American lady complaining about her being in the United States, and that was the whole confrontation, and that was absolutely meaningless. And no. I'm sure that lady wishes he never said those things on camera, because people got cancelled for less than that. And it's not like you can defend it. It's not their job to enforce immigration or enforce, what language you can speak. It's not like you're a representative, elected representative of your country. But yeah, unfortunately, you do represent your country. That is one thing about being an immigrant that you have to keep in mind. People that you meet, people that you interact with, people that you deal with, you might be the first Polish person that they ever meet, or maybe the only one. So in a way, you're representing the entire country of yours. So any mistake or any bad deed that you potentially do, that's gonna reflect on the entire country. So you're doing the entire country disservice if you're not good. Right? If you don't behave. Anyways, what was my point with the American lady enforcing what languages are allowed or not allowed to be spoken in her presence? Well, now look what representation of Americans did you give to, to all those people that were watching, and all the people that will watch. Oh, you. What is wrong with you? Come on. Come on, baby. Catch. Oh my god, what is going on? Maybe here. Look at this. What happened here? I'm on 380 and it's not catching. That's a new tip. Brand new tip. Alright, now we got something. Nichuya. Brand new tip. No. Now we got something. Let's see. Yeah, but it's not gonna work. Jesus, what is going on? Do I have to put the old tip? Ridiculous. Look at this. You know what, I'm gonna send this video to the person I bought this tip from. This is not normal. This is not supposed to happen with the new tip. Yeah. Oh my god. See, the first part went perfectly. The chip aligned perfectly first try. And this part is giving me problems. And this is the most important part, and you know, you have to do it right. Otherwise the car's gonna misfire again. Yeah, used tip that I replaced because it was done. Apparently it's better than the new tip I got. Yeah, I gotta return that one. It's ridiculous. Where did I buy it? I don't know, from some guy on eBay. Okay, so are we allowed to speak our languages when we immigrate? Again, I go back to the premise of, you know, you immigrate to another country. It would be nice if first you learn about the culture, and just so you don't offend anyone, you understand the culture, and you respect. You just have respect for the country you emigrated to. All right. The worst thing that you can do is just go to other countries and complain to them that their rules are dumb, or you're not gonna follow their rules, or that's the worst thing you can do. On the other hand, it's not cool if you just attack immigrants for not being worthy, in your view, to be in the country which you call your own. But it's your country only because you were born here. It's not like you had to fight for that country. In most cases, because obviously, yeah, there's plenty of veterans in United States, and they did have to fight for their country, or at least they had to participate in the conflicts on behalf of their country. So that lady, though, you know, actually, to me, it even looked more funny than outrageous or anything like that. Because I would have been offended if she weren't wearing those Mickey Mouse ears and, obviously having discipline problems, judging by her weight. And she obviously doesn't make great choices in general, right? So I wasn't offended. That Mexican lady was offended, and I say rightfully so. That was at least rude. If we just leave politics, immigration politics aside, it was just rude. Why would you even say something to the person that is talking to her child? Not to mention you're making a scene in front of the child. You're attacking a child's mother just because she uses language that you don't speak. And I would be surprised if that American lady spoke any foreign language. And that was a bad choice. In my view, that was just a bad choice. You didn't win anything with that. It's not like anyone asked you to guard the Disneyland or wherever it was, from people speaking other dialects. And where do you draw a line? Maybe you're from South. You have thick Southern accent, right? Yeah, it's the same language, okay, but it sounds different. When I first came to US, I found it extremely difficult to understand people from the South. Or people with Southern accents. Extremely difficult. Remember that, I'm not a native speaker. So first I had to learn the language, and then I have to actually learn English again, the Southern English. And it's the same with British dialects. There's plenty of them, even though Great Britain is a lot smaller than the United States. You have more dialects over there, and some of them, oh my god, I worked for this British company, and first product manager that we had, it was all good, but then we had this second product manager, or that replaced the first one, right? And he was from some region. They told me, but I don't remember now. And no, I listened to the guy. I tried to comprehend the words, but I can't. I didn't understand a single word. So at the end of the meeting, we had a trick of telling him yeah, okay, yeah, oh, I got that. Can you just email that to me, just so we have the paper trail? No, I don't need a paper trail. I have no idea what he said. Just write it in English and email it to me. Because I cannot understand you, brother. So these are the problems that immigrants have to deal with. And, also consider, you're far away from home. You have no family, no friends other than the friends you came with or friends that you make on in the country, right? So you have no childhood friends. You're very detached because you don't get references. You don't know the history of the country, right? So oftentimes people are laughing at you and you don't know why. It's not as easy, There's plenty of problems to overcome, and on top of that, someone attacks you in the bathroom, for using your native language, speaking to your child. Immigrants are not bad people. For some reason, some politicians are trying to convince us that the country is being invaded and they're all drug dealers and prisoners escaped from prisons and all kinds of bad people come into your country just because your country is so great that let's just commit crimes here, not in our own country. Let's come to United States to commit crimes and not pay taxes and all that stuff. No. Not to mention that immigrants make great workers. Okay, I already mentioned my Ukrainian friend immigrant, but here in the US there are spots, right? You might not even be aware of those spots because perhaps you don't, perhaps you're not aware of that. But I've seen it in Austria, in Vienna. I've seen it in Warsaw, in Poland. I've seen it in United States in many places. There's actually one very close. It's a small gas station with a small mart called Smart. Very clever. And next to that, because I moved here a few months ago, so initially I was going back and forth because the Home Depot is over there. So I had to pass that gas station. I would stop at that gas station because it's close to the house. And every time I go there, I see plenty of very tan men that are just sitting there. And initially I thought, oh, they're just working on something or waiting for the pickup. But no, that's a spot. That's a spot. It's a spot where people who have no regular job are just sitting there and waiting. And you just pull in, you ask them how much they want an hour, then perhaps you negotiate, depending on the hour, right? Immigrants are very easy to take advantage of. If it's already like 11 o'clock or noon, they didn't get their pickup at like morning hours. So, normally they want 20, but if you give them 10, they're gonna take it, right? Or maybe 10 plus dinner, plus a, case of beer, that kind of stuff. But yeah, they'll take it. if you don't pay them, right? What are they gonna do? Think they're gonna go to police and say, hey, that guy hired me illegally because I can't work legally because I'm illegally here, and he didn't pay me what he promised me. You think they're gonna do that? You think we're gonna do that? No. If you screw us over, there's nothing we can do. We just have to take it. And you complain that we steal your jobs. Nah. We take jobs that you wouldn't want, and we do things that you wouldn't want to do. We do things that you wouldn't even recommend your worst enemy does. You know? And not only we do that, but we appreciate being able to do that. I think it was during Trump administration when they cracked down on all those illegals, right? The ICE, right? Because again, it was a black and white issue, right? You're not legally here, you have to go. And that caused such a disruption, such a heart-wrenching stories that you heard of that. Like, you know, and okay, you can consider, you know, many different angles of that, but people who immigrate, you know, they start families here, they build a life over here, and at some point you can no longer say that, you know, that guy is an illegal immigrant if he's been here for 20 years, you know, build a life, family, kids, you know, had kids are going to school, and suddenly you take both parents, because kids can stay, because kids were born here, but you take both parents and overnight deport them, and we don't care what happens to the kids. How would you consider yourself being on the right side of the history doing something like that? It's only because you have black and white approach to it, and it's always either left or right, nothing in between. And that's when people get hurt the most. Your intentions are pure, right? Your intentions are good, but you're doing pure evil. That's the outcome of your good intentions. So at some point you just have to sit, you know, just take a little breather, right? Stand back, not think of it on the emotional level. Just remove the emotions from the equation and just look at the outcome. How would your country, or how would the United States prosper if suddenly immigration stopped? Both legal and illegal. You know, if you're a small business owner, you're most likely, well, maybe not most likely, but it's possible that you took advantage of illegal workers. And if you did, then you recognize that, you know, you can't afford to hire a full-time employee. You can't afford to even hire a part-time employee, but you have plenty of work to do, right? And instead, you just pick up Juan and Alberto from the gas station, you pay them well, you pay them, right? Maybe not well, but you pay them what you promised them. They don't ask questions. What do you do? What you're doing? Do you have permission to build that garage over there? Is it are those wires properly rated wires for what you're trying to do? And just like we don't ask questions because we don't want to invite questions, we pray to God that you don't ask us, like, yeah, what's your immigration status? Whenever I interview, sometimes I get this question. Actually, it was pretty often, and at some point I just took offense. They ask you, like, because obviously you can hear my accent, so I understand their question is, like, do you need any, like, sponsorship or anything like that? To which I say no. So their follow-up is always, so what's your immigration status or something like that? Like, what would be the possible purpose of having that? What would be the reason of having that information? What would you need that information for, possibly? Right? I understand you're asking, like, do you need, are you currently on H2B or whatever, the work visa sponsored by employer currently, and you want to switch employers. It's understandable that, okay, we need to be aware of that you want to be sponsored. That is what I call a modern day slavery. Have no illusions, it's the worst kind of thing for us, being sponsored, because again, just like you can hire Alberto from the gas station, from behind the gas station, and he's gonna work for you for 10 hours, then you just drop him off back to the gas station and tell him, yep, I'll come back tomorrow to pay you because I forgot my wallet, and you disappear. And you got yourself you got yourself a slave, basically, right? And there's plenty of spots where you can pick up people, and you can get away with it for many times, and you got yourself a slave. The same way, you sponsor someone, you give me a sponsorship, I still have to pay for my ticket, I still have to, I still make money, I have to pay my own, taxes, I have to pay for the apartment and all that stuff. So it's not like you're giving me a super deal on that, like you take care of everything and I just make money. I still have to do a lot myself. But you tell me that I have to work 16 hours today, or I'm out of the job. You think I'm not going to work 16 hours for you? Of course I will, because if you take away my job, I have, like 2 weeks or a week to find another job, so I'm not deported. So of course, you got yourself a legal slave. That's what we have to go through as immigrants, be it legal or illegal. I mean, legally sponsored, right? Because if you're legal immigrant, then we're just like the rest of us. But if you're illegal or sponsored, you're a modern day slave. It's not the best position to be in. And after all that, some lady comes, approaches you and calls you names because you speak Spanish or Polish or Russian. Think, before before you start blaming us for everything, and before you take out your frustrations on us, just think about all this hardship that we have to go through, so you don't have to. And not only we have to go through, but we also appreciate it. Every day is appreciated by us because every day could be our last day in this country. That's what weighed on me the most. So the second year, the first year was pretty cool. I mean, first 6 months I was still legal. I made the driver's license. I was having fun. I didn't really travel much, but I was happy. Then, the second 6 months, my papers expired, so it was a little more stressful, but still, I didn't mind. But the second year, I slipped into a pretty significant depression because of the weight of all this, right? Like every time I go for a walk and I see a police car, I start sweating. Is he gonna stop me? So okay, it's never walk after 8 p.m. Never walk at night or early in the morning. Don't go to places where you're not the only person. Like, stay home as much as you can. Don't play loud music, right? Don't have parties. Don't have many people over. Like, all that, just so you can remain in the country. And after after almost 2 years of that, but that last year, so after that last year, I was like completely over it. And I left. And then I had to pay the penalty. I didn't, and that's the thing. Usually you don't think of consequences. You don't think, because I was in my 20s. Who in their 20s think about what the life is gonna be when they're 40? Well, not me. Not me, and I suspect not a lot of people have that. Have that in them to just kind of, at the age of 15 to plan their entire life. Nah. And I'm not arguing that you should. You should, in your 20s, you should be 20. You should be a kid. You should have fun. You should live your life in your 20s, not thinking about your 40s. But nowadays, it's not the same times they were like 50 years ago or 70 years ago. And now it pays off, because the 20s is your best, most productive decade. You can work overtime, you can work hard jobs, you heal quickly, you can skip a night of sleep and still be functional, right? You don't have joint pains, you don't have arthritis, you're not suffering from any medical conditions. I mean, on average, because obviously people get sick even when they're 20, having accidents and stuff. So it's not always like that, but on average, your 20s is your most productive decade. Then your 30s, second most productive decade. But that is actually usually more productive because you're more disciplined when you're in your 30s versus 20s, right? So nowadays it kind of pays off to think about your retirement when you're 20. It definitely gives you a better start in life. But I'm still for No, that's just treat your 20s as your 20s. Have fun. Be a kid. That's your time to be a kid. If you miss that time to be a kid, that's not gonna be good for you in later in life either. You're gonna hit hard when you turn 40, and you're gonna get the, what do they call it, the second youth, or or midlife crisis, if you, yeah, and then you're gonna start doing dumb stuff. But then no one is gonna treat you like you're in your 20s because you're in your 40s. So the consequences will be harsh. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our repair and our big rant. Definitely don't be shy. If you have opinions on this subject, express them in the comment. Try to be respectful, but if that is an emotional subject to you, then go ahead. Go ahead and express all those emotions in the comment section. That's what the comment section is for. I never remove any comments, and I never, and I respond to every comment because I don't get a lot of these. So definitely let me know if you think I'm wrong, especially with my statement that we are modern day slaves, but you have no idea how much advantage we are being taken of, especially as illegal immigrants. And think of how would your country look like, what would your country look like, and how would your country be if there was no immigration, if there were no immigrants. If suddenly everyone said that, no, I don't want to go to US, I want to immigrate to Australia or to England or France or Poland. I don't think anyone would, but there are some expats in Poland. Usually they take advantage of the cheap education system and relatively good education system, at least compared to United States. It's not. It's a little better. It's not very high up there, but it is better. Unfortunately, education in the United States does not score very high on the global arena. What are you gonna do? The healthcare also is not the best, and there's few issues that I think politicians should address before talking about immigration and stuff, and especially those build the wall and stop the immigration or open borders or and it's just a campaign piece, the campaign talking point, so we can talk about something. There's so many more important problems that they could be solving or working on that would matter to you, the citizen, to make your life better. How is not immigrating or immigrating is gonna change your life? Again, don't throw at me they took our jobs. No, we're not taking your jobs. Alrighty, I think that'll do. Let's tap on it a little. See if it's nice and solid. Nice and solid. Nice and solid. Alrighty, fellas. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope I didn't offend anyone with my rant. But here you have a perspective from a former illegal immigrant and still an immigrant. I'm not a citizen yet. I will have to get that done eventually. But I'm still just a simple immigrant. So I hope at least that gave you a different perspective on the subject. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you guys in the next one.